Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Far Lands or Bust. Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. Unpause. We had Wolfie bark right off the bat there. Let's remember how to get out. Up here, up the stairwell. Hello, Wolfie. Good to see you again. It's been a week. We are back. Woof! In Far Lands or Bust. This is episode 315. Boop. How you doing? We did have a boat, and we could try... Although there's not much more distance we can make in a westward direction, right? Where's east? Yeah, that's east. Here's west. Okay, well, perhaps pointless, but we can hop in the boat and continue onwards. And there's a sheep! In the last episode, I mentioned that I needed wool. And here is at least a single sheep. So not exactly the best... The most plentiful. There's the rest of them. There's the rest of the sheep that have spawned in. But yeah, we're back. Far Lands or Bust. Like I just said, this is episode 315. Today is Wednesday. January 15th. I had it marked for whatever reason in my notes. November? In the last episode. Watch where you're walking, Kurt. These are cave sheep. I had it marked as November on my notes, so that is why I continually referred to the current date as November in the last episode. For whatever strange reason I did that. I don't know why. I apologize. I was very confused, apparently. If I write something down in my notes, it must be true. Even the date and time. But yes, January 15th, 2014, we are continuing on in Far Lands or Bust. I suppose if I come across some pigs, I can get some more food for Wolfie. Just looking over my inventory of things I am carrying on this journey. Of course, only a few things. That's something I've had to do recently, is take inventory of my inventory. Whoa, creeper cliffs. Obviously, this diamond sword, it's not enchanted, just a slight adjustment due to the texture pack, which there has been and always will be a link in the video description if you'd like to check out the custom texture pack I'm using with slight tweaks for the Far Lands or Bust world by Axis 1. This diamond sword is the diamond sword of spawn pointiness, because it's pointy, and it's from Spawn. I found some diamonds back in the day before I set off on this expedition. Crafted them into a sword and a pick. I left the pick, which was on its last few swings, back at the first F3 monument at 292202, buried underneath as a time capsule. And this sword just continues to carry on with me. I haven't had to use it too much. Not that many situations where I need to use a sword to defend myself, and as you saw, Wolfie is quite capable of taking care of his own prey, so I just give him a boop on the head and he takes care of the rest of the dirty business. So the diamond sword really hasn't been losing any durability. It's about, I don't know, it's hard to tell, I know, in the YouTube video, but it's about 20%. It's a little bit orange, not quite red or anything. This is odd. Kind of a strange place to find some sandstone. It's brick? Sandstone brick, that's what it's called. And more wolves! But we've got the spawn sword of diamond pointiness, or whatever I called it. This compass, obviously, I've been carrying since the beginning. The compass, always pointing back at the original spawn. That still confuses people sometimes. I suppose in current versions of the game, there's really not that much use of crafting a compass or knowing how it particularly behaves in the game. Just because you can reset your spawn and blah 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 blah, and all happy-go-lucky, sort of that thing. But yeah, the compass always points back to your original spawn point, not at your last bed that you slept in. So the original spawn point. So I brought that along, thinking that, oh, as long as I have my back pointing to where it is pointing, that means I'm traveling away or west. Also, much more obvious is by following the motion of the sun across the sky. Heading towards the sunset is always the westerly direction. Of course, I do get confused sometimes and head the wrong way, but that's something I've been bringing from Spawn. The golden apple found on episode 311, so that's something I'm looking forward to continuing carrying on. The golden clock of destiny I didn't make until a little bit later. I had 3 gold and some redstone, and I was carrying that a while because I hadn't found another piece of gold until I did a little caving expedition. What episode was that? I think around 40 something. Where I made a little base and did some caving and found the last piece of gold and finally crafted the clock. Not that the clock comes in handy that much, because I don't spend the night up or anything, but I think I've had to replace my armor, or I just did for safety's sake at some point, because I keep coming across iron ingots in dungeon spawners. And of course, the netherrack and glowstone dust I gathered in episode 200. 200, when I, for the first time, and probably the last time in this world, went to the nether for a little celebratory episode 200 thing. Whoa! And got the glowstone was my prize to claim. Ooh! Look at this place. And I said I'm going to carry that until the next F3 monument, which is coming up eventually. I'll talk about that in a second, but let's explore this cool thing here. It's a thing! It's a thing. So yeah, not that much original stuff. I can't remember if the bow is original or not in this version of the game. We're playing in beta 1.7.3. Not to be confused with the current full release version of 1.7.3 and 4, what has currently been released in Minecraft. But beta 1.7.3 is the last version of the game to include the far lands. They, I would say accidentally, but perhaps purposefully, fixed, quote-unquote, the far lands in the 1.8 beta update with the terrain change. So that's why we have been and will continue to play in 1.7.3 beta. So yeah, the bows don't have durability, and they also don't have the pullback. It's just an instant shot thing. So there's some differences there. So yeah, I can't remember if I made the bow later. I know along the way I found my first dungeon was a spider dungeon, and perhaps I made it after finding string in the spider dungeon. Can't quite remember. Do not have that good of a memory. After 315 episodes, it's okay if I forget a few things, isn't it? Is it not? Yes. Whoop. That little animation when you look at the dog and he looks up at you is quite funny. Quite funny indeed. This whole situation is a little bit cliffy. Let's go around this. Woof. What else was I going to talk about? Flobathon, yeah, the F3 monument. I keep saying, last week I was like, maybe this weekend, because on Monday, at least for us in the United States, most schools here are off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And, I'm figuring, long weekend, that would be a good, opportune time to hold Flobathon. Flobathon, by the way, I suppose for even newer people, after we reach the Far Lands Bust, whoa, watch where you're stepping, charity fundraiser goal for a Child's Play charity, I do a live stream event where I live stream Far Lands or Bust for a certain amount of time, and then at the end of which I kind of randomly choose a point and say, this is where I will finally press F3, and then I do, and then we find out over the past season how far we have walked by looking at the largest integer. When you press F3, you get your coordinates, so we look at the largest. I think it's the Z? Is it our Z coordinate that is the way we're walking? I believe so. I should know this. And we see how far we've come, and there's much rejoice, and then that marks the start of the next quote-unquote season of Far Lands or Bust. So we have reached our goal quite a ways ago, thanks to the help of the Mindcrack Marathon, where we did 48 hours of live streaming with just the Mindcrack guys, and the donations from there went to the Far Lands or Bust Child's Play charity, and now we're currently of our $100,000 goal for this season, we're at $168,608.61, which is amazing. So I do need to schedule the next Flobathon, but until then, let's go to sleep, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the morning. And awakeness. Indeed. Woof. So yeah, I said like last week that, oh, maybe this weekend would be good, but it's far too soon. That's obviously not going to happen. And then I'm also finding that the following couple of weekends, I have pre-aligned, what's the word I'm looking for? I have plans, and I have made certain offers to people to do things, this, that, or be places, or take them places, X, Y, Z. So the upcoming following 2 weekends don't really work either, and obviously I wouldn't want to have it during the week, because I know many of you are in school or work and stuff like that. So the weekends are generally the best time to schedule such an event. I'm just really, I'm struggling, and I really hate that I keep delaying it like this. And then obviously I mentioned before how Mindcrack Marathon weekend was a big deal. It was a big event, raising over $100,000 in just 48 hours. This was pretty crazy. So that almost, even though I know it has nothing, well, something, but not directly anything to do with the Far Lands or Bust world here, and we don't have, too much wood. We don't have the F3 moment happening and stuff like that. I do feel like that's a nice little buffer. I can say, well, we just did the Mindcrack Marathon, and that had many fun times and stories coming from that. But yeah, I still want to find a way to wrap up this season of Far Lands or Bust and finally press F3. At this point, it's going to be running into, Dungeon Spawner. I was ready to burst into song. Oklahoma. Alright, let's go. Whoa, holy Moses. Okay, be very careful. That would have been one heck of a doozy of a drop. A doozy drop. Alright, now to find... probably here. Chests. Nothing of consequence. Nah. Spooky noises. Oh gosh, might have to dig all the way around here to find... What kind of spawner is this, by the way? Speaking... Didn't I just talk about the spoiler spawner? So they probably can't spawn because there's not 2 blocks of open space around here. Well, this one was a gyp. Only 1 chest. And it really didn't have too much in it. Ha! Oh, made it. Alright, well, that was fun. For the short while it lasted. Yikes. So yeah, at this rate, it's running into February, and some of you might not enjoy this suggestion, but it is just a suggestion right now. On March 6th, that is the mark of the first episode of Far Lands or Bust, what was then my first Let's Play video I ever uploaded on March 6th, 2011. It was called Minecraft Adventures. It just started out as your standard Minecraft Let's Play series. Not even a series. I'm just like, I like Minecraft, I'm going to start making some videos with it. Let's go. I almost feel like it would almost be worth it to wait and like really give myself a good solid month to plan and schedule things and say, yes, do it around the, what is that, 3-year anniversary of the first episode of Far Lands or Bust would be a little bit appropriate, I suppose. That's a tall cactus. Is that 5 blocks? Is that a 5-block tall cactus? Voice crack? Would you like some fries with that? Sit. I'm going to investigate the cactus of incredible height. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count. I mean, I don't. A lot of people always say, "Oh, you passed up like a 5 tall reed, and that's unheard of," and stuff like that. I rarely take time to look at such things as these, but this one just seems strangely tall, does it not? It does. Let's break it down. No, let's give it a sort of special placement. Kind of a cool tall cacti right there. But regardless, Wolfie, no, don't go towards the tall cactus. I know how much you love just rubbing your face into the spines, but do not do such a thing. What was I gonna say? So yeah, I'm kind of that entered my mind. I'm like, you know what? These next 2 weekends are out of question. By that time, it's almost March. Maybe that's what I should think. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe that would be a little bit appropriate, and it would allow me. I've been kind of delaying and not really focusing in Far Lands or Bust too much because I don't want to do too much before the flobathon. So I think that might, if that is what I'm going with, that would give me some time to maybe get back into a standard schedule of Far Lands or Bust for 4 or 5 weeks, the standard Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to kind of get back into the groove of things and get the hype train going. And we can get some good episodes in there, and make it feel like, okay, this is an actual season instead of just trailing down, and then do a flobathon. That might work. So who knows? Those are just I'm just talking. We're just talking here. We're not making any specific plans or anything. So yeah, maybe that sounds appropriate for me. I know originally I was almost thinking of trying to associate it with episode 311, because that's 300 episodes since episode 11. Also, I can count. Episode 11 is when we left on the journey west towards the Far Lands, and that didn't work out, didn't have enough time, and it ended up that Minecraft had different plans in store for us, which is where we found the golden apple. And so I feel like the actual 3-year anniversary date of the start of this series would be an appropriate thing. So yeah, I've said that like 16 times, but 12 different ways. So we'll continue on. I got wool as I needed. Thank you everybody who reminded me of that. I carrying around 31 blocks of sand for some reason. What else do I need to talk about? Flobathon. Oh, I guess I do mention sometimes when I see movies and other such entertainments. Ooh. Oh, okay. Got it. Clouds. Clouds are not part of the terrain. Clouds are, I guess, entities, I suppose. So, just like the block selection offset, the clouds are offset as well. So we have kind of strange intersect going along. Ooh, look at that. That was way off. Going along with the jitteriness due to how far we are from 0, 0. Whoa, careful of those oh, man. Whoa, careful. Don't be... Get. Alright, this is a place. That looks a little bit more gradual over there. Let's go this way, Wolfie. Ha. Alright. Careful. Get back. Don't stop. Just stop jumping. You don't need to jump. Just fall very gingerly down. Alright, gradual. Oh, it's over here is a little bit more gradual. Got it. I might have to employ the use of water. Alright. Oh, Lord. Gradual over here. Alright, Wolfie, you're still doing fine. I have yet to hear a peep out of you. Ah, perfect. Alright, here we go. That was some successful navigation down this mountain. what was I saying? Oh yeah, I saw the most recent, this is like old news that came out around Christmas, but the most recent Hobbit film, The Desolation of Smaug, or however you say the dragon's name, and I enjoyed it. I liked all the first Lord of the Rings films. I haven't read the books or anything like that, and I know this second movie in the Hobbit, a lot of people are saying there's like nothing in this movie that was in the books, or like the movie kind of took its own way to, and I could see why they would need to do that, why Peter Jackson would do that, to kind of make more of a solid link between these movies and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Also maybe there wasn't enough content to make 3 movies out of it, so maybe they're like, okay, let's try to expand, let's try to come up with some new original characters. Careful, Wolfie. And so I could see, and some people who are like diehard Hobbit fans, Hobbitses, if you will, might be a little bit chuffed. Chuffed, is that the word? I don't think that's the word. Chafed? Not happy with that decision, but I like the movie just fine and dandy. But I did see it a little bit out of character for me in 3D and in the high frame rate. I normally avoid the 3D movies because I feel that they are kind of a gimmick, let alone the additional $5 surcharge per ticket that you need to pay. But yeah, I'll talk about that, so those impressions and a little more things in the morning. And Hobbitsels. Went a little bit Gollum there. The Hobbit. Yeah, I saw it in 3D. It was interesting, but I could still take or leave. No, I could leave 3D and just say nuts to 3D. The only other movie I saw in 3D was the first Avatar film, and it doesn't seem to add anything. Like there's the occasional, at least in The Hobbit, there's the occasional like bee or like insect that like flies really close to your face, and it's like, ooh. But otherwise, because I don't think, it just kind of makes, I don't know, it's not, I'm not really a film purist or anything like that, but I do see how that really kind of detracts from the experience more than immerses the experience, I suppose, is a way to put it. It makes, the current technology seems to make, to me anyway, the screen dark. It's kind of a dark film regardless, but there's less contrast there. You lose what I feel is some of the resolution or brightness and contrast that you can get from film. So not a fan of the 3D. The high frame rate, and for those who don't know, your standard movies are generally filmed and projected at 24 frames a second. It's just a standard that was decided back in the day when they introduced, I believe it had to do with the sound also, not necessarily the limitations of film, like actual exposed film or anything like that. That looks like an endless pit. But the sound syncing with the film 24 frames a second was technologically, is what they needed to do at the time. And then it played back at 24 frames a second. This high frame rate, The Hobbit, the first Hobbit and this Hobbit, was one of the first major films with wide release that was filmed in and in select theaters projected at 48, double the frames per second, 48 frames per second. And that, basically, if you play video games, like the refresh rate of your video games, your monitors, normally 60 frames a second will match up with your monitor's 60 hertz refresh rate. And if you have some sort of super duper powerful graphics card and computer system getting above 100 frames a second on your system, and now they're coming out with 120 hertz monitors, creates a very smooth and much more responsive gameplay experience. In movies, it seems weird because we're all used to watching movies at 24 frames a second, and it's at first it was very disconcerting. It seemed a little bit like a commercial, or like a cheesy soap opera, because those are kind of filmed at different frame rates, and it does create, even though it's barely perceptible to the human eye, at 24 frames a second, there is a little bit of a stutter between the frames, and that just seems, we associate that with cinematic, that's the cinematic frame rate. So the double frame rate seems too smooth, and it almost seemed like I was watching a live recording or, a play almost, and at first it was a little bit off-putting, but I got used to it and barely recognized it. Of course, like I said, also the 3D was a little bit distracting, but I eventually suppose I forgot about that. But very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if that is I know more and more movies are perhaps leading towards that, and I know that's due to the advent of being recorded now instead of on film, on digital. So there's a lot of that. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's the future of film or not. I know there are indeed some film purists who swear by the 24 frames a second, and you can view The Hobbit at, it has been downscaled, I suppose you could say, to 24 frames a second for theaters with projectors that only play 24 frames a second. So yeah, I'm not quite sure of the future of that. The high frame rate might have a future. I still am adamantly not for the 3D aspect of things. Although people said that I should have seen Gravity in 3D. That was a movie you should have seen in 3D. But even then, I don't know. Maybe not. And even you can see the rise last year of 3D TVs has kind of wavered, because I think people are like, it's a gimmick. I could see maybe seeing a film one day, but having a theater in your home, a TV in your home with that dedicated purpose, there isn't enough content out there, and it is too gimmicky to really warrant having to spend $125 per each pair of glasses that you need, 3D glasses with your TV or whatever. So I'm glad, it's still a thing, and there's still a lot of movies being released in 3Ds, but I feel like it's still a fad. You dang whippersnappers with your 3 dimensions in your films. It's crazy. What's up with that? But yeah, saw The Hobbit. Thought it was pretty good. Zombies. Indeed. Oh, I forgot to mention this. For those of you who don't know, woof! My Minecraft skin is inspired by the 10th Doctor, David Tennant's from Doctor Who, right down to the 3D glasses and the pinstripe suit and the red Converse sneakers. And I am somewhat of a Doctor Who fan, not like a fanatic or long-term watcher, viewer of the show, more so the recent series, but the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, recently, during the Christmas special, had his last episode and regenerated into the next 12th Doctor, although 13th perhaps, because there was another storyline that happened where there was a forgotten Doctor who was played by John Hurt in between, so I don't know how they're referring to them anymore, but I guess technically the 12th Doctor, because he's officially has his own series, Peter Capaldi or whatever. Saw that. I thought it was good, but again, there's something, and perhaps the refresh with the new Doctor might help. Of course, I said the same thing about when Amy Pond left and we had a new companion, that maybe a new refresh will give new interest to the series, but that last episode with Matt Smith, I'll avoid spoilers, I guess, but if you haven't seen it by now and you're a Doctor Who fan, then you probably should have, but there was a lack of, what's the word I'm looking for, impact, I suppose? There was a lack of substance, maybe, to that final farewell. It didn't seem to tie in anything. I mean, it tied in things from the first part of the series with the cracks in the universe and the space-time, etc., but kind of not really. It almost seems like it was hacked together, like, oh, it's going to be Matt Smith's last episode. Let's let's find a way to fit in these history, parts of his history into this last episode, and they just kind of, squeezed it in as they could by saying, yeah, sure, this is the way things are. So it was a decent episode, and again, Matt Smith was kind of what I guess you could consider my first Doctor, because I first found and started watching the series with season 7, which was his first episode. I watched that season all the way through, and then went back and started with the Ninth Doctor episodes, the modern series, I guess you could call it, all the way through. But yeah, I suppose we'll see. I suppose we'll see how the next Doctor kind of takes the personality perhaps in a different direction. It's still Stephen Moffat. I don't know. Maybe I feel like he might be spread too thin, and he's like spending too much time trying to figure out how Sherlock survived and making up those stories, and maybe there needs to be more. Somebody else needs to maybe take over the reins of Doctor Who. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yes, he made the Weeping Angels, and they're amazing, and, one of the best Doctor Who villains, I suppose you could say, but maybe that was his best idea. Oh, such a critic, Kurt. Such a critic. You're crazy. Anyway, Balderdash. Where the sun is setting is in the west, so let's make the final hidey hole of the episode right here. Let's have a seat on the shores, Wolfie. Yep. Boop. And dig in right here and conclude episode 315 of Far Lands or Busts. I do appreciate you following along, continuing to follow along, and your patience in the seemingly endless wait for the F3 moment and the end of season 4 of Far Lands or Bust here. Speaking of seasons and ends and series and running out of ideas and stuff like that. No, me? Never. I would never run out of ideas. But yeah, let's plunk down. Where's my workbench? Plunk down the old workbench. Woof, that was a very manly bark from Wolfie. Let's make the 3 beds for the next episode. Bling, blong, bling. Let's do that. What else? I'll make a boat, because we have a little bit of an expanse of water coming up ahead here. And I'll remind you that even in the meantime, even after we've raised so much money for Child's Play charity, you can continue to donate to Child's Play charity over at farlandsbus.com using the Child's Play charity donate button widget thingamabob on the homepage. And you can ask me questions there. I'll start to get back into, like I said, I feel like I've been a little bit of away from the Far Lands or Bust routine. I'll start to answer, I got some questions lined up, answer more questions from viewers and fans and donors to Child's Play charity. Like I said, we're at $168,608 by this episode. People are still donating. It's a great cause, getting toys, books, games, and stuff to kids in hospitals around the world. That's what Child's Play charity does. Woof. Woof indeed. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.